Hello, we're sitting on the floor as you can see, and I am holding a tiny mic. Um, I am trying out new filming spots in my room because I don't really like the lighting um of the spot where I film most commonly now. Because when I do that, the window light kind of like, or like the light coming from the window hits me from the side, and I don't know. I just want to try stuff out. Please ignore this mess. Some of these include like books that I'm trying to sell or maybe give away from my last video where I tried to rearrange my shelf and kind of declutter a little bit. So just ignore that. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In case this is your first time here, my name is Damla and I like to talk about anything related to books on here. Today I decided to talk about something so a bit more of like a laid back video. I mean, I feel like most of my videos are, but anyway, I'm seeing some discourse related to book covers, specifically the very cartoony romance covers. I think some that pop up in my mind are Icebreaker by Hannah Grace and most of Ali Hazelwood's books. Well, Check and Mates, I think, is her only book that's YA. The other ones I just mentioned are adult romances. I don't know if I will be able to include the TikTok here, but there was basically this video of a teacher or someone who works at a school saying that they saw very young children, like way too young, reading books like Icebreaker. And basically saying that we should be changing these, like we should not be having these covers on books because children think that they're innocent and all that stuff. And so I guess I want to talk about those specific book covers and just book covers in general, maybe. And also, I want to know what you guys think. Before I really start, um, as you can tell, I have a microphone now. My mom gave this to me, so thank you, mom. I don't know if she's watching this. I'm gonna try this out and see how the audio is. But if you guys have a specific preference, let me know because in my previous videos, I just go with like the audio coming from my phone. But that can be a bit quiet sometimes because my phone is sitting a little far away from me and like my voice, I don't project my voice very loudly. So this might be nice. I might upgrade at some point, but I just don't feel like that's something I should be doing right now, at least. Now, onto my actual opinion of it. So, first of all, where do I even start? I was gonna say first of all, but I'm like, I don't know what my first point is. Um, I think my overall point is just that like we shouldn't get rid of these types of covers completely. I do feel like they are dominating romance books at the moment. Like a lot of romance books have those like cartoony type covers. And this is not exclusive to romance, but I feel like in a lot of genres, there's a very specific type of book cover that you're going to come across. Like I also think of a lot of fantasy covers that look very similar, and I understand it from like the marketing perspective, I guess, or because it's what's hot at the moment. But I also like to see more unique covers, which makes me a little sad. And like special editions of books are pretty expensive, so I can't really go with that either. I find the discourse interesting because I feel like it insinuates that cartoonish or like drawn things are aimed at children. And maybe my opinion is a little different because I watch anime and read manga, and like those are drawn, but a lot of the times, not always, but there are quite a few shows that you probably wouldn't let like a 10-year-old watch. Not even in like a way that it's sexual or something, but the subject matters might be heavy, or it's a little gory, or there's blood, or like very heavy fighting involved, or just things that overall you wouldn't recommend if you're looking for child friendly content. And in these cases, these books include spicy scenes very explicitly. From what I've heard, I haven't read any of these books. I think some people also mentioned the Twisted series. Again, haven't read, I've watched like videos about it, but I haven't read it myself. So I can't judge on like how much of the adult content is there, but I know it's present, and I think that is enough for someone to be like, yeah, I don't think a child should be reading this. I just don't think we should completely get rid of it. I've seen some people talk about maybe including like age board, like those age ratings that you also see on like DVDs or before you watch a movie. I'm not necessarily like vehemently opposed to it, but I also wonder to what extent it's going to be followed. I do know with things like video games, At least in my country. I don't know how this works in other places, but in my country, if you're trying to purchase games that are rated 18 plus, I think, or maybe even 16, you are supposed to show your ID so that they can check if you're actually an adult or not. I don't know if that is what people want to do when it comes to books, and I guess that wouldn't, I mean, I think that just makes it difficult because I'm like, okay, well, how do we rate a book exactly? Because there are also, for example, young adults books that do deal with content that is quite heavy, but still to an extent that it's understandable for a teenager. And also, young adults is a very diverse genre, so it could literally range from like a 14-year-old to someone who's almost 18. I'm not going to yap about age categories, but I do think that category is a bit odd. But that aside, I guess it could work. I'm just wondering how it plays out in practice, if you get what I mean. Another thing that I find important is that I think we should also remember that parents also have a responsibility to their children. Of course, to some extent, there should also be, like, how do I say this? I'm not saying that parents have the sole responsibility to ensure that their children are reading things that are appropriate, also because let's be honest, a lot of, especially I would say like teenagers that are not 18 yet, are probably engaging in media that is not exactly fit for their age because it's exciting or because it's interesting, like even with like horror movies or something, which even I as a 21-year-old would never watch, but like I've heard of, like when I was younger, I've heard of people who did watch those things and stuff like that. There's obviously like a line where a parent can do much more than they already are. However, with books, it's not that difficult to just read the back of the cover and be like, okay, well, what is this book about? Because I feel like there's already like an insinuation. Also, another thing, aren't like bookshops and like libraries like ordered, like aren't the books ordered in like which genres they are? If you are in the romance section, I don't know how bookstores work in general. I mean, I've been to bookstores, but I know that, for example, young adult has their own, part. Children's book have their own area, and also adult books have their own area. And then within those, there is young adult fantasy, young adult contemporary, young adult romance, and the same for adult books. So I'm just wondering, like, do those clues not really help? And is reading the back of the cover not enough to give you an indication of what this book is about and whether it is or is not appropriate for your kid? And when I talk about things being appropriate, I'm not just talking about like an opinion or something that the parent doesn't agree with. I also think it's important that children or just people in general read different books. I occasionally try out something that I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy, but then end up liking. But that is like your own journey. I'm talking about things that are like the spicy scenes, for example, that I don't think a 12-year-old should be reading. And I know I mentioned earlier that teenagers do it sometimes, but again, I think there's lines there. But I will also acknowledge that parenting is difficult. I am not a parent myself, and I can't imagine how difficult would be to navigate. So I'm also not trying to shame parents. I'm just wondering to what extent parents are involved here, because it wouldn't be that hard to know that, for example, Icebreaker is not appropriate for children, or that the love hypothesis probably is not something a 12-year-old should be reading. Even just simple clues like the ages of the characters, I think, would give that stuff away. Because if you have characters that are in college, I think it also might be just difficult for someone to relate to those characters and the experiences they go through, because what you go through in college or as you're becoming an adult and like really getting into adulthood is different from being a high schooler, maybe starting high school or being close to like finishing high school. I feel like this made no sense at all. I'm sorry. What else do I have to say? I do think the cartoonish book covers can be a bit repetitive because I see them a lot and sometimes they look nice, but other times it feels like I am looking at the same characters on every single book. Like there's not really, they don't have distinct features, there's not much that stands out. I can't really get a grasp on like the vibes, if that makes sense. And I'm trying not to judge books by their covers, but I'm gonna be honest, I sometimes do, actually quite a lot. So it makes it a bit difficult for me, because also just because I feel like looking at a book, I can't really tell what I'm getting into, and that's not always necessary, but I don't know, it's hard for me to explain. I guess they sometimes come across as a little bland, is what I'm trying to say, which is a little sad, because so in that aspect, maybe something else would be nice. However, at the same time, I am not a fan of having real people on book covers. I don't know what it is, but when I see like a photo, like for example, the covers of the selection, that one's like okay because also like the dress covers most of the book. But I'm just like, or like those romance books where the guy is on the cover and he's shirtless for some reason. I'm like, no, I don't like that. I don't know why, but I just don't. Maybe it's because it already gives away what the characters look like, and I know they're being described in the book, but there's still you still have an idea in your mind that probably doesn't fully correspond to the picture that's there. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'm being nitpicky here, but I just don't like seeing real people on covers. I don't know why cartoon covers bother me less. Maybe because they do still give you some ambiguity, because a cartoon, like a 2D drawing, is not the same as like a picture of a real human. I don't know. But yeah, that is my opinion on this topic. I know it's a little all over the place. I've been wanting to make videos about also topics related to books rather than just the books themselves, if that makes sense. But it's been a little difficult. So here's me trying. Let me know what you think of this. Do you think, well, I have a lot of questions. Do you enjoy like the cartoonish covers? Do you not enjoy them? What do you prefer? Do you think that cartoonish covers or like drawn covers on specifically like romance books catered to adults give off the wrong impression that it is for children, and is there a responsibility to then like change those covers, or should we have age ratings? What do you think? Tons of questions. That is a ton, but just I guess my overall question is, what do you think of this? Feel free to comment, and if you like this video, please give it a like, and if you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe to my channel. I also have an Instagram account. I will also link my Goodreads and my Storygraph. I'm currently, well, I'm reading 3 things at once now. I was reading 4. Well, no, actually, I am reading 4 things. Shoot. Um, I am listening to an audiobook. I'm reading an arc. I am reading a physical book, and I'm reading a webcomic. How did I get there? I don't know. I'm trying to get through those, and I will probably post Goodreads reviews of all of them at some point, or on my Storygraph, or on my Instagram, wherever. I will also make videos probably at some point. Um, but yeah, so I think that's all. I hope you have a lovely day. It's pretty rainy outside. Haha, rainy rambles is rainy. That's not funny. Anyway, um, okay. I'm so embarrassed. That I will never make a joke like that again. I hope you have a lovely day. Please take care of yourself, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. Bye!